first high-level athlete is thriving after getting a synthetic cartilage implant. 13 News Now reporter Megan Shin joins us live in the studio here. And Megan, so arthritis is more common than we think?
Yeah, David, this story is surprising because most people assume arthritis happens to older people, but it's common in athletic people too. Now, a fusion is a typical surgery to get rid of the pain, but it limits mobility. Now, one athlete is getting behind a new way to beat arthritis and get back on the court.
Most people know Aaron McFarland as jersey number 1. He played basketball for Christopher Newport University.
It's not just the games I live for.
McFarland was pulled away from that life, though, after one fateful game in 2017.
My right foot landed on the court, my left foot landed on the drop-off, and it jammed so hard, tore the ligament in my left big toe. Well, I thought instantly I broke my foot and I thought it was over.
His big toe developed arthritis. The injury brought McFarland to the Atlantic orthopedic specialist in Virginia Beach.
It's not that big a problem until it's your toe.
Dr. Michael Campbell knew McFarland needed to get back on the court.
This was sort of an unsolved problem in orthopedics.
But the surgery usually erases mobility.
There weren't any reliable treatment options that we had that would maintain motion and allow them to do the activities they wanted without pain.
So he implanted Cartilage, a synthetic cartilage, in the basketball player's toe. It's a newer FDA-approved implant made of contact lens material.
To my knowledge, and what it seems like the first high-level athlete who had this done on them.
Day of the surgery, McFarland was walking again. 2 months later, McFarland got back in the game.
It felt like I had a whole new foot and I was just ready to go.
During his senior year, McFarland not only healed, he became an All-American basketball player, beating teams on the court and the arthritis-related injury.
And studies show the synthetic cartilage lasts more than 10 years. So far, McFarland shows no sign of wearing down. And Campbell says it costs about $2,500, but most insurance companies cover it. Live in the studio, Megan Shin, 13 News Now.